How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for the weekend of April 27th and 28th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys had a great week. I know I haven't been here. I appreciate everybody reaching out, saying what's up. I was in St. Louis, Missouri, which is my hometown, at my grandfather's memorial. He passed away in February, and my whole family's from St. Louis, and my grandparents moved to North Dakota in the year 2000. They already decided that they'd be buried in St. Louis, 20, 30 years ago. So he passed away in February, and the memorial was this past Monday. And yeah, it was great to be with family, and, I was just like, I'm going to take a few days to just not worry about anything here in the studio with, the music stuff or any of the astrology, So it was nice to kind of have a breather, and I appreciate everybody, reaching out and saying what's up, and even be like, hey, are you okay? Where's your video? So that means a lot to me. I appreciate that. So anyway, while I was gone, we had that full moon in Scorpio. Now we're coming off that really intense full moon in Scorpio, squaring Pluto. So we're really going through a massive transformation. And this really triggered Pluto in a lot of ways, especially after this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction we had, which was just really massive and really beautiful. And I really think now moving into the astrology that we're moving into, especially through May, because we're at the very end of April here. This is April 27th. It's the 26th when I'm filming it. But, so this weekend is a big deal because this is the end. I'm not going to say the end, but this is kind of the last massive conjunction we're going to have, not of 2024, but really since December and January, we've just had massive conjunctions, one after another. The North Node Chiron conjunction, Venus-Neptune conjunction, Sun-Pluto conjunction. Mars-Venus conjunction in Aquarius, and Mars and Venus conjunct Pluto. So Mars conjuncts Neptune every 2.5 years, right? So Mars goes through the whole zodiac every 2.5 years. Saturn goes through one sign every 2.5 years. So it's like Mars and Saturn, they're the malefics, and Pluto. There's a massive relationship in their cycles. But with this Mars-Neptune conjunction that we're having this weekend is kind of like the last big one of this sequence of conjunctions that we had all through the beginning of 2024. And we're pretty much moving into the second half of 2024. And by the time we get to June and we get to the summer solstice, it's like we're in a whole new phase. And definitely after this full moon in Scorpio we just had, it's just like now it's just this shedding of emotional baggage, and I really felt it over this week. I had a lot of deep stuff come up, especially being back home. I'm 33. I moved away from my home and when I was 19, and definitely being back there and, experiencing, the loss of my grandfather during this very plutonic full moon we just went through, squaring Pluto, in this full moon in Pluto's ruling sign of Scorpio. And now we have Mars-Neptune conjunction, which Mars traditionally was the ruling planet of Scorpio. Mars is the lower octave of Pluto, right? So it's just like this very deep transformational energy that we've been in. And Pluto is stationing to go retrograde. On May 2nd, Pluto's going to go retrograde. So it's like, the shedding of skin and this emotional baggage that we're just kind of like offloading. And I think too, it's so important is that this Mercury, which just came direct at 16 degrees. If you guys remember, this Chiron North Node conjunction happened at 16 degrees of Aries. Mercury retrograded across there. This is the third time Mercury is touching this 16 degree mark, right? Even though that North Node Chiron conjunction happened back in February, we still haven't got all the pieces together. We still weren't sure about, a lot of areas connected to our inner world, our self, our ego. And there's just kind of like lingering issues going on that's connected to this Chiron situation. That's what I've kind of been calling it, is the Chiron situation, and it's really about ourselves, and this healing and this transformation of ourself and our identity that we're going through. And this full moon that we just had really has triggered that big time. And today on Saturday, when this Mars-Neptune conjunction really starts to happen, Mars is now at 28. This moon is going to square over to this Mars-Neptune conjunction with the moon in Sagittarius, while the moon in Sag at 28 is going to be trining Venus in Aries at 28 degrees. So we have the moon, Mars, Neptune, and Venus all at 28 degrees, right? This is the degree before the final degree. So there's this finality of these cycles that we're coming into, and definitely the finality of these massive conjunctions that we've had. I mean, we're still going to go through some very important conjunctions, but the first 4 months of 2024 has been very focused on a very deep, intense kind of, in a very deep, intense place in our lives, and it's been all engines go all of 2024, right? Now Pluto's about to go retrograde, then Saturn will go retrograde in June. So we're starting to feel the outer planets kind of slow down a little bit, but now we can get some perspective. And I think with Mercury at 16 degrees, crossing that area for the third time, after its retrograde motion of going backwards, going, when it hit 15 degrees, where that North Node's at now, for the first time, crossed 16 and went retrograde and came back, crossed that moment again, and then it went retrograde at 15 degrees, and now here we go. Mercury's finally a degree ahead. And I think with a lot of the healing, especially with our identity and how we want to see ourselves, how others see ourselves, and the relationship issues that we've gone through, especially in our love life, with Libra. I mean, Libra is Venus ruled. It's all about love, Taurus is more the other side of Venus. It is beauty as well, and money and finance. That's the second house. But with the seventh house and Libra, with this South Node, is very much our relationships, our love lives, our marriage partners even. The seventh house, is very much about our marriage partners. And, the people who we are really, really in relationship with. And how it's kind of affected our identities, and definitely the codependent issues that's come up a lot. Now we can really start to wrap our heads around it. Aries rules the head. Aries is now crossing this place for the last time, and it doesn't have to go back there again, at least until next year. But, we're not going to be dealing with Chiron North Node conjunction. But now we can start to piece together all these things that we've kind of we've been confused about. And this Mars-Neptune conjunction is bringing up a lot of confusion as well, but also helping us kind of know which direction to aim for where we have been confused. Wherever we felt confused in our life, a lot of, fog is going to start to clear, right? And we're going to start to gain a little bit of clarity, a lot more clarity. But at the same time, this is the kind of energy, especially with the moon squaring this Mars-Neptune conjunction at 28 degrees. This isn't a weekend if I can be out fucking drinking and, wanting to completely detach from reality and saying, fuck it, this is not a fuck around, find out energy, right? The Jupiter-Uranus energy, that's the more, let's fuck around and find out. Let's take a risk, you know? Like, that's where shit's going to pay off. But this kind of energy, like, we really got to be careful with, you know? This can be very fun. The moon and Saturn is always very fun. You know, I love Neptune energy as well. When Mars and Neptune get together, things can get a little wishy-washy. You know, things can be unclear, but at the same time, Mars can kind of penetrate any of the BS where things have been unclear. You know, if there's any deception in your life, if there's any lies or anything that's hidden, things are now going to start to come to the surface, because once Mars hits 29 degrees, that's when we're going to see things really start to surface. You know, anything that's been hidden is going to come to light with this Mars Neptune. You know, any sort of like secrets that have been kind of buried, Mars is like, I'm going to fucking uncover that shit. And especially with this Pluto stationing to go retrograde, this is when things are really going to start, you know, anything that's been suppressed and secret, it's going to start to fucking come up to the surface, you know. And with this Venus and Aries as well, with this moon trining Venus, it's like, it wants to have a lot of fun. It wants to go. It wants to fucking do new things. There's a lot of inspirational energy, you know, but we have to fucking be a little cautious about anything that's confusing. If it seems confusing or we can't quite understand it, or if our intuition is just like, I don't know about that, don't go there. Don't even bother. Because this Mars Neptune, you know, it can be very exciting. It could take you on some kind of subconscious spiritual journey that you didn't expect, or, you know, lead you into territory where like you can really uncover some new spiritual kind of information, as long as you're willing to go there and willing to fucking kind of like sail through the fog. That's kind of what this Mars Neptune energy is. It always feels like, is like you're on a journey on an ocean, on a fucking boat, and it, you know, things kind of really get cloudy, but you have to be willing to go through the storm, you know, to really get to the truth. Because that's what this moon squaring Neptune and this Mars conjunction is going to do. Like, a lot of truths are going to be revealed at this time, and it can be a little uncomfortable, and especially when it comes down to beliefs and our spirituality. There could be some clashes, you know, and things can get aggressive and intense, but, you know, we don't want to let it pull us under. You know, we want to keep like allowing it to pull us into a new higher spiritual frequency, because that's, you know, the lighter side of this Mars Neptune, you know, because Mars is tired. Mars is tired in Pisces, right? Mars knows it's about to come into Aries, you know, and it's still got a few days. By next week, Mars will be in Aries, and then it's like a whole new Mars cycle. You know, our energy is going to be in a whole new place. It's almost like we've kind of forgotten what Mars in Aries feels like, right? Like, we haven't really had, I mean, we had Mars in Capricorn, where it's exalted, at the beginning of this year, which is fucking great. That was a great time to really be putting things into motion and be building things and setting up our little empires. But now it's like going through this Mars Neptune. There's a lot of fog that needs to be cleared. There's a lot of things that, you know, were hidden that need to be brought to the surface. You know, there is a storm that we have to be willing to step through to really get to the truth here. This moon is going to be revealing a lot of truth this weekend, you know, and it's going to be challenging our beliefs and can seem really confusing. You know, there can be a lot of confusion this weekend. It's like, fuck, you know, but it's fine. I mean, we have to be willing to move through these times. This is the last conjunction of this caliber that we're going to have this year, or really in this time frame, at this first half of the year. You know, we still got the Sun-Jupiter coming up. We have Sun-Uranus conjunction. We're going to have Venus, Mercury conjunct Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus. Like, that is all going to be incredible, right? The month of May, the astrology of May is unbelievable. how it's panning out. When you really look ahead, which I did in my video with Natalie for the 2024. Like, we really went into it. But the month of May is really just incredible. We don't get periods like that, especially with so many amazing planets in Taurus making conjunctions in Taurus when it comes to, the financial aspect, the unexpected aspect, when it comes to love and all this stuff. Like, the month of May is the best month of the year by far. June is going to be great too. Even though Pluto and Saturn are going to go retrograde, May and June are the best times of the year. But now it's like with this Mars Neptune, with the moon and Sag squaring it in Pisces, it's like there's a lot of truths that need to come out. There's a lot of buried subconscious shit that's going to be brought to the surface, and maybe in a more intense, aggressive way that's kind of hard and can fucking really, feel like you're out of your mind, you're out of your head, but I think being grounded and remembering, like, wow, we've really put so much attention on focusing on this healing of ourselves with this Chiron in Aries and this North Node. And Mercury is here at 16 degrees. Finally making the message very clear. The message is very clear. Where, like, Chiron has been working for you and where it's at in your chart, the message is coming through this weekend while this Mars-Neptune is conjunct with the moon in Sag, squaring Mars-Neptune in Pisces. The message is becoming very clear. And you know what? Like, with this moon trining Venus in Aries at 28, there's a lot of creative inspiration coming through. And especially when it comes to our love life and our financial life and our values and our self-worth, it's like we have to, be willing to, mold into how the times are changing when it comes to our beliefs and our opinions and our philosophies and our spirituality, and allow that to transform our identities, because if we're just stuck in old patterns, which this Mars-Neptune is really trying to shatter, and it's going to, and it will reveal a lot of uncomfortable truths. Sag can make things uncomfortable. Sag is very fun. Sag and Jupiter is all about humor, right? Big laughs, big energy, big fucking excitement. This Venus in Aries and this moon in Sag, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of fire. But with this moon, or with this Mars Neptune, it's like we gotta also, like, be in reality as much as we can. We don't want to be, like, channeling our subconscious energy into negative places. The dark side of Pisces and Neptune, Neptune rules Pisces. So with this Mars, with Neptune in its ruler, it's like, man, like, be careful driving. Not even just for yourself, other people. It's like, don't fall asleep at the wheel. This is that kind of energy. But at the same time, it's like, man, there's a lot of fire this weekend. There's a lot of intensity. Mercury's direct, so Mercury and Mars ruling travel, ruling vehicles, cars, and with Neptune, ruling the water. It's like, you want to be a little cautious this weekend. It doesn't mean go have fun, because this moon trining this Venus in Aries, it's going to be a fun weekend. But we want to channel it in a positive way, not in ways that's going to bring us into a low vibration. Drugs, alcohol, all that kind of shit. Whatever you do to have fun, it's fine. I think with Mars, Neptune, it's like, this is like, go out and dance, express that Mars in a very spiritual way. Dancing is good. Yoga is good. Meditation is great. Breath work, all that kind of shit. With this Mars, Neptune, like, there can be a lot of subconscious stuff that can come to the forefront, and a lot of messages with this Chiron in Aries and Mercury crossing that degree where Chiron and the North Node met. When it comes to the karmic unraveling of this subconscious stuff that's connected to our identity and where our identity is wounded and how relationships are affected, a lot of those messages are coming through, but a lot of that pain with that Chiron, a lot of that suffering can be channeled in a very positive way with this Mars Neptune when it comes to like focusing on the spiritual areas that are healthy, right? Because there's two sides to that, you know, because there's a link between spirituality and drugs and all that kind of shit. You know, it's like you have to discern that for yourself, especially with this Mars and Neptune. It's like we have to discern what is real and what is true and factual. I think that's going to be a lot of the vibration this week, is having a strong discernment about truth, you know, and our spirituality and our beliefs and the suppressed, repressed, subconscious, emotional weight that this Mars Neptune this Mars wants to just fucking chop Neptune in half right now, you know. I mean, Poseidon's the fucking king, you know. But when Mars and Neptune get together, it's like you want to just fucking split all that subconscious BS into pieces, right? Because once Mars comes into Aries in its ruling sign, we're finally going to get this really amazing boost of energy and really resetting, you know, this kind of lulling. I mean, Mars and Pisces can lull. Like if it could feel like we're just walking through quicksand or we're just floating or we're just like on a treadmill, right? Like on a hamster wheel. So, or it's like, that's the thing. If you've ever been out on the ocean, you've ever been on a boat in the ocean, it's like, man, you can't even hardly tell how fast you're moving through the waves, right? I remember one time I was in Florida on a boat, on a blow-up boat, right? And I was like, I blew up the boat. I had 2 oars to paddle, and I fucking got in the thing, and all of a sudden I'm just paddling like very naively, right? And I'm paddling. And I had someone with me, and they were facing the other way. They were facing the beach, right? And I'm facing just the vastness of the ocean, the foreverness of the ocean, the infinite, right? And the look on the person's face that I was with was just like, I think you need to slow down, right? Like, and I looked back, and I swear, like, I started having a fucking panic attack. I could not believe how far out we were, and it was so terrifying because we're in a blow-up boat that could just pop like that, right? And all of a sudden, I started kind of panicking, and I started paddling towards the shore, and it felt like I was going nowhere, right? And it got so scary for a second that, I don't know, it just going through a lot of emotions of like, I can't control this. I have no control over how fast I'm going. And it just got to a point after panicking for so long that I finally realized that like the only momentum and the only real true energy that's going to get me to shore and get me back to a safe place or some solid ground, which is hard to find with Mars Neptune, was to just let the waves carry me through. And that I'm not in control of that. And that's what Neptune and Pisces and the 12th house is all about. Is always realizing that we're not in control. There is something bigger than us that we cannot control, that we are a part of. And we just have to move with it and allow it and learn from it. And man, like that experience of like realizing that, man, I'm not in control. It's like a psychedelic experience. If you've ever had like a really intense psychedelic experience, like that's the lesson, you know. No one takes psychedelic drugs and is like, man, that was a great time, bro. Like, fuck, you know, maybe, but not with my personal experiences. It's always some experience of like, wow, like that was some spiritual place that was reached internally, subconsciously, spiritually, psychologically. And the lesson was always that, wow, like there's something bigger that we're a part of and we're connected to and we're not in control, you know. And when you try to fight it and you try to work against the waves or you try to control the waves, you panic, right? This Mars and Neptune is going to be bringing that up a lot, and especially with this moon in Sag making this square, So when it comes down to our beliefs and our opinions and our big ideas, like, we don't want to let that take over. We don't want to let the control take over. Pluto's about to stop. Pluto can get very controlling, The sun's in Taurus, it wants to feel stable and control its environment. And it's just like, I want to feel stable right here, right? The sun in Taurus wants to feel stable. This Mars Neptune is just like, sorry, like, we're going to have to ride these waves, whether you like it or not. And you can't control how big the waves are, how little the waves are, how fast you get there. There's a divine order here, and you're not in charge. So, this weekend is a reminder, especially before this Mars comes into Aries, that we're not in charge, But once this Mars comes into Aries, then we can really take charge, right? But we want to take these lessons that this Mars Neptune is teaching us, especially with this moon and Sag, making it square over there. I mean, it can get there. There can be a lot of anxiety this weekend coming up. A lot of mental health stuff. I mean, if you know anybody this weekend who's on edge and they're just like, I'm gonna fucking end it. I don't want to be here anymore. Fucking call somebody. But at the same time, the lesson is that we can't control everything. We are a part of a divine order. That's what we call nature. When we look at the astrology, that's what it teaches us, is that, there is an order to things. And when we watch the transits, when we look at the transit, like, for instance, we look at this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we just went through, which is really amazing. The last time that happened was 1941. There's a divine order. It just doesn't come when you want it to, right? Sudden financial windfalls just don't come when you want it to. But when Jupiter and Uranus come together in Taurus with no debilitating or afflicting aspects like this, and then Venus is going to follow, the sun's going to make that conjunction, Mercury's going to come there, and then Mars in July is going to hit that same point. This is the moment where some real gains can happen, right? Some real sudden shifts in our reality can happen. Some real sudden shift in our financial or love life can really happen in a big, positive way that's unexpected. And it might happen in a way that might not seem good at first. That's how Uranus works. Uranus can take something away from you that you were holding on to and you thought was so important, and put you in a new position that you weren't ready for. But actually, in the end, was what got you to a place that allows you to expand in such a big, beautiful way, and you didn't see it at first. That's the moment that we're in right now, and that doesn't come often at all. We're not going to see it for a long time. I mean, we're always manifesting our future, right? But this is the moment when this is like a tipping point moment of our manifestation, is when things really start to pour through in really unique ways, So with this Mars-Neptune conjunction and the moon and Sag making a square here, emotionally, it's like we don't just want to hold on to our beliefs and hold on to our opinions, We have to ride the waves. We have to let the emotions, do its thing, and we want to be able to observe them. That's what Pisces is good at. That's what Neptune in the 12th house wants to teach us, is that we want to observe the feelings. We want to observe the emotions. We want to observe the subconscious imagery and messages that are coming through. The subconscious is not literal. The subconscious is not 2 + 2 = 4. The subconscious is 2 + 2 = nothing, right? It's like in Alice in Wonderland when the clock is just melting. That's how the subconscious works. That's how Neptune works. That's the 12th house. And if you have 12th house placements, or you're a Pisces, or you have Pisces placements, you know what I'm saying. That's not easy for everyone to really get to that place. But that's also the last sign of the zodiac, right? So when we die, Honestly, I don't even know. I don't know what happens when we die. But I do know that we are all going to die. Sorry to get so dark on you. But I mean, that's the 12th house. Is really coming to a place of acceptance, right? And surrender. That's Neptune. That is Pisces. That's the 12th house. And with this Mars-Neptune, we have to surrender to the waves, or the anxiety and the anxiousness and the control. Mars wants to control things. When we try to control the energy or we control the dynamics, like, it doesn't really go well with Mars, Neptune energy. And we haven't seen Mars conjunct Neptune since 2022. That was the last time, I'm pretty sure. And that was Jupiter in Pisces, conjunct Neptune. Around that time. Yeah, it was. So, we haven't seen this since 2022. And going through this Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus we just went through, conjunct, that's where the North Node was. The North Node was right there where this Jupiter Uranus conjunction was the last time Mars Neptune were conjunct. So think back to 2022 and that time in April and May, even back to February in March 2022, and that Jupiter Neptune conjunct. Think back to that time. Think back to the feelings. Think back to what you were going through and the karmic stuff that was popping up, and definitely the seeds that were planted at that time, I think, are really important to think about right now. Because Jupiter and Uranus are now conjunct. That was the last time Jupiter came into contact with a outer planet, right? So now Jupiter just conjunct Uranus, which is an outer planet. We can even think about this. It was December 2020 when Jupiter and Saturn came together. Then it was Jupiter Neptune in February 2022, and here we are in 2024, Jupiter Uranus, right? So we won't see Jupiter conjunct Pluto for another 12 years. So pretty much Jupiter is kind of, well, shit. I mean, we can go back to 2020 when Jupiter Pluto conjunct in January 2020. So we start there, January 2020, Jupiter Pluto. The end of 2020, Jupiter Saturn. February 2022, Jupiter Neptune. And here we are in the Jupiter Uranus conjunction. So Jupiter since 2020 has conjunct all the outer planets. That's a big deal. So we're not going to see that for a while. At least for another 12 years, roughly. Wow, that's crazy to think about. So all the bigger areas of our life, what we're supposed to be doing, our responsibilities, the unconscious shit, definitely in the subconscious stuff, I mean, Jupiter has expanded all these larger areas of our consciousness and ourselves over the past 4 years. Jupiter has touched all of that. That's amazing to think about. I haven't thought of it. And then the last time that happened, 2007, Jupiter, Pluto. I'd have to think about the rest of it. Jupiter, Uranus in 2010. Is it Jupiter, Neptune in Aquarius? In 2009, I think. I'd have to look back. But, it's just like every 12 years, Jupiter's going to touch all these outer planets like this because they're kind of somewhat close on the same end of the zodiac. So all these larger areas of our lives have expanded in so many different ways. The that now with this Jupiter Uranus, like going through May, this is one of the most amazing, benefic, beautiful times that we're going to be going through. And this Jupiter Uranus just kicked it off. And once we get to, Venus and Taurus, Mercury comes there and the sun gets closer to Jupiter and Neptune, it's like, that's when this is going to be activated. It's not necessarily going to be activated when the conjunction happens. It's when all the personal planets start touching those areas. That's when it's going to get activated here. So, I got the Six of Cups here. So, I mean, it's like, you got to focus on the things that are in front of you, right? It's really the things that are right in front of you, is where the value is. It's where, the beauty is. It's where the creativity is. It's where that spiritual frequency really truly is the things that are right in front of you. If we're looking too far out, we're going to miss, what's really important. And I think with this Mars-Neptune conjunction is being present. I think the 12th house and Neptune and Pisces teaches us to be present, right? It's like when we're in uncomfortable situations, we can't be thinking about the future. Like that's where the anxiety kind of comes in, is when we start thinking too far ahead and we start thinking about all the possible outcomes and this and that. And it's like, and you totally blow it. You totally just forget that we're supposed to be right here, right now, experiencing this moment for what it is. And, I think that's what the Six of Cups always reminds me. It's just like that youthful kind of energy when, you were totally naive to the reality of the world. You were just fully, totally present, just experiencing, not thinking. And Pisces doesn't do good thinking, right? Mercury is not good in Pisces for a reason, It doesn't like to think. It likes to feel. It likes to be. It likes to exist. It likes to just be present in the moment. So I think getting through this Mars-Neptune this weekend, is very powerful. It's very exciting, especially creatively and spiritually. If we're channeling ourselves in, a lot of the intense emotions and a lot of the subconscious stuff that's coming up, if we're channeling that physically on a spiritual level, it could be very inspiring. And I think creatively, there could be a lot of beautiful, amazing things that can come out on the other end, if you're willing to just ride the wave and let it kind of carry you where it's supposed to go. Pisces is like a psychedelic trip. It's going to carry you where it's supposed to be, or it's supposed to go. Every moment is supposed to be what it was. So, anyway, it's good to be back. I appreciate all of you, and thank you for saying what's up whenever I was gone. I know I said I'd do an Instagram Live. I just did not have any time at all. I felt like I was just at a new person's house every 3 hours whenever I was back home, having to kind of make my rounds. I never stay that long because I have to go back to St. Louis every 6 months to go to my ear doctor. And I stay for one day. I fly in, I go to my doctor the next day, and I fly out the next day. That's usually what it's been since I've been gone. I never stay for 5 days. But I had so many people to see, so many people to catch up with, people I haven't seen in a long time. Celebrating my grandfather, all of it. It was really, really nice to kind of just step out of the zoo of LA, and then, I'm in the studio all day, every fucking day, which I love, but it was good. So I'm glad to be back here and doing this with all of you. Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus reading sale is still available, and that's going to be through all of May. The last week of May is still open. It's starting to book. We're going to be doing this until Jupiter comes into Gemini. So if you're new here, subscribe to my channel, like this video. Go to all the links in the description of this video to my Spotify, my Instagram, and my booking website if you want to book a reading. All the links are in the description of this video. Anyways, have a great weekend. It's good to be back, and I will see you all on Monday. Peace out.